Coming up on 5 Minute News. Mexico revises coronavirus death toll up by 60%. Birx says COVID death toll would have been mitigated with earlier action. And China generated over half the world's coal-fired power in 2020. It's Monday, March 29. I'm Anthony Davis. Mexico has published revised figures indicating that the number of deaths caused by coronavirus is 60% higher than previously reported. More than 321,000 people are now believed to have died from COVID-19 in the country. The revised toll places Mexico with the second highest number of COVID-related deaths in the world, after the United States. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has faced widespread criticism over his handling of the crisis. The opposition has accused him of downplaying the severity of the pandemic and blamed him for delays in the vaccination program. The revised report issued by Mexico's health ministry showed that by the end of the sixth week of 2021, there had been 294,287 deaths associated with COVID-19, up from the 182,301 confirmed figure given previously. Since mid-February, more than 26,000 COVID-19-related deaths have been reported across Mexico, which would take the total to more than 321,000. Experts have long warned that Mexico's true death toll is probably much higher due to lack of testing. It is also believed that a shortage of intensive care beds in many states has led to a large number of people dying at home. The new figures came after a review of excess deaths and a review of death certificates. Last week, Hugo López-Gatell, who is heading Mexico's response to the pandemic, warned that the country risked a new wave of infections as millions prepared for the Easter holidays. Mr. López Obrador, who himself has recovered from COVID-19, has been repeatedly accused by his opponents of not taking the crisis seriously enough and is often seen in public without a face mask. Dr. Deborah Burks, who coordinated the White House coronavirus task force under Donald Trump, believes the COVID-19 death toll in the United States would have been substantially lower if the government had responded more effectively. In an interview with CNN last night, Birx said there was an excuse for the initial surge of deaths last year as the government grappled with the start of the pandemic. There were about 100,000 deaths that came from that original surge, she said. All of the rest of them, in my mind, could have been mitigated or decreased substantially. Trump played down the outbreak in its early stages, resisted mitigation efforts, and criticized harsh lockdown measures imposed to stop the spread of the virus. He repeatedly eschewed guidance on mask wearing that health experts say almost completely prevents the spread of the disease. Birx, who has since left the government, said in the interview that she received a very uncomfortable call from Trump after describing how widespread the virus was in an interview with CNN in August, during which she told people living in rural areas that they were not immune. Trump, who tested positive for and then recovered from the virus in October, was running for re-election at the time. Everybody in the White House was upset with that interview and the clarity that I brought about the epidemic, Birx said. I got called by the president, she said. It was very uncomfortable, very direct, and very difficult to hear. Birx at times faced criticism for not standing up more forcefully in public to Trump's misinformation about the pandemic, including his dangerous suggestion that Americans could consume bleach to kill the virus. China generated 53% of the world's total coal-fired power in 2020, 9 percentage points more than 5 years earlier, despite climate pledges and the building of hundreds of renewable energy plants, a global data study showed today. Although China added a record 71.7 gigawatts of wind power and 48.2 gigawatts of solar last year, it was the only G20 nation to see a significant jump in coal-fired generation, according to research from Ember, a London-based energy and climate research group. China's coal-fired generation rose by 1.7%, or 77 terawatt-hours, enough to bring its share of global total coal power to 53%, up from 44% in 2015. The country has promised to reduce its dependence on coal in a bid to bring emissions of climate-warming greenhouse gas to a peak before 2030 and become carbon neutral by 2060. China is like a big ship. It takes time to turn in another direction, said Mu Yiyang, a senior analyst with Ember and one of the report's authors. China has so far been unable to find enough clean energy to meet rapid increases in electricity demand. Renewables met only around half of China's power consumption growth last year. New coal-fired power installations reached 38.4 gigawatts in 2020, more than 3 times the amount built by the rest of the world. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.